I think we in Winnipeg, we're fortunate that Dr. Jerry Wilson was in Sweden and struck up a friendship with these people and saw that they could play the game. They knew how to play hockey and encouraged our hockey department to take a look at these guys and give them a chance. And of course, we know what happened. So I don't think, and then John Ferguson coming in at the end, it was, I mean, how ironic would it be that he's in New York, signs Anderson off to big contracts, and then leaves and comes to Winnipeg. I mean, the irony of it all is crazy, but John was a different individual, a very, very fierce individual as far as...
what was Bobby's... did you ever talk to Bobby about that? Because, I was thinking, it was always known that he never got along.
Right.
And then now he's part of an ownership that's hiring...
Well, yeah, you probably recollect the night that Bobby showed up late into the dressing room, not knowing the starting time of the game. McVie tells him he's not dressing, and word gets to John Ferguson. John Ferguson goes nuts, telling Tommy McVie, do you realize this guy's part owner of the team, and you're telling him he's not dressing for the game? And Tommy McVie said, well, no, I didn't know about it. He's not dressing. So, I mean, that was the start of the end for Bobby in Winnipeg, but that's the way McVie was. He didn't care, king or queen or Bobby or Joe Schmo. Everybody was told and everybody was treated the same, and he had his rules, and he was the governor general, and that's the way he ran his ship. But John Ferguson made mistakes early on in his tenure with the NHL Jets, but I think by and large, I think our team functioned well here in Winnipeg in the WHA because of the personnel that they put on the team, and I can remember the one year that we picked up Dave Crisco and Lynn Powis as late additions to the team, and the word was that these guys were bad apples, they were troublemakers, they were gonna destroy the continuity we had on the team and everything. And the funny thing was that they came in, adapted to what we were doing, and they were so far in the other direction that they bought in. They loved the atmosphere. They could see what type of team we were, what type of group of guys we were. The organization had no trouble with those two guys whatsoever. So I mean, when you've got the right people doing the work, then really coaching and managing is easy.
Yeah, we only had Lynn Powis for 1 year, though.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Dave, I know. Do we have him for 2 years?
Maybe. I can't even remember whether
he went to
came.
Japan, I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I Terry Wiskowski, when we got him from Houston, pretty good leader. I mean, pound for pound, one of the real tough guys. Lukowicz could score goals.
What was that last year like for you? Because I never liked the idea of, you're on the team and how come Smitty's playing,
Yeah.
And we had Marcus already for...
Well, see, I struggled the last year, got hurt a little bit, wasn't playing the way I wanted to play, and wasn't getting the amount of ice time that I wanted, and then...
Especially coming out.
And then I think Fergie felt like he had to bolster that part of the team and had a chance to get Smitty. I don't know whether he knew him from previous or whatever. So what happened was he brought Smitty in, and so one day I went to him and I said, well, I guess now that you got Smitty, you can get rid of me. And it was like I alienated myself to the team and the organization by saying that. It was just my frustration that had boiled to the point that I thought, you know what, if this is what's going to happen, then I want out. And really, I didn't. I wanted somebody to say, no, Joe, it's not going to be that way. We're going to have 3 goalies, and you're going to work, and if you show you can play, you're going to play, or whatever. Like, as soon as I said that, like, Fergie wanted to cut my head off. He was just like that. And so from that day on, him and I were finished. We were on the outs. We didn't talk to each other. We didn't like each other. And that carried on for a long time. But that's just the way John was. There was no gray area. It was black or white. And but he didn't know. He didn't know how to read people. He didn't know how to handle people in that regard. You know, he wanted to rule by the fist, and so he, you know, I mean, he had some successes later on, but and he had success that year. But once the WHA NHL merger, he wanted to disconnect with the WHA totally. It was like he was born and bred NHL, and even though he got involved with the WHA, he wanted to get rid of
anyone that was before
that smell. It was gone. And I mean, even though he employed a few people and players from that era, he really wanted to. In fact, I mean, the success that we had there, and I remember him coming in, and you know, we had a pretty loose dressing room. You know, players' kids would come down, go out for a skate, and we'd have Bobby's neighbors, the Hutterites from the farm, would come in, and they'd come into the dressing room, and it was a very loose atmosphere. And for Fergie, that was it. We got to get rid of this country club atmosphere. It was his remarks, and he wanted to shut that all down. And you know, I mean, it wasn't like we hadn't had any success.
Yeah.
You know, if you had no success, and sure you wanted to tighten things up, and we're going to do this and we're going to do this, we were successful, but this was him, and so he changed all that in a hurry. But it was, yeah, you know, you look around hockey today or hockey before, and yeah, there was a time where I think, you know, managers, they bring in the people. If you bring in the right people, you don't even know who the manager is. The players play, they got a coach behind the bench, and you don't even know who the manager is. But he does the right things, and it's like a boss. A boss is a boss, but if he brings in the right people, and they adapt to the work code, the outside world doesn't know who the boss is. And I think in sport that sometimes, I mean, general managers obviously are going to be in the limelight because on poor teams they're going to be ridiculed for not getting the right people, and on good teams they're going to be praised for bringing in the right people. But in the end, you know, that's true. But if you bring in the right people and they do the job, that's where the focus is. It's the fans are paying to see the athletes play, and if they perform and give the fans what they want, I would say a ventriloquist could manage a team, because it's still a game that is won and lost by those that are participating, and if you bring in the right people and let them play and let them do what they can do best, it'll all work out.
Yeah, did you see Billy Lezouk or any of those guys?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, in fact, Ernie Wakely was just up here. His grandson, Ernie lives in Arizona, and his grandson's a goalie. He's 18 years old, and he was trying to catch on with a junior team up here, and he came up and had a few days of tryouts here, and then went over to Melville for a couple of days, but and then came back, and things just didn't work out. So Ernie's son and family live in Denver, and so that's where Connor was going back home after being cut from here. But so I got a chance to have them over for dinner, and then one night, wife and I took Connor and Ernie out for dinner, and so it was nice to see him. And generally, we try and get away for a couple of weeks in the winter, and we like to go to Arizona ourselves, so we usually hook up with him. And of course, Billy Lazouk lives in Winnipeg, and we've been good friends for a long, long time. And Billy's wife's from Weyburn, so there's a connection there. And she and my wife are in the Red Hat Society together. It's a ladies' gathering, and they get out once a month together. And in fact, they are out today. So, and then Ab McDonald has been very close to me, and over the years, prior to playing in Winnipeg together, we played together in Pittsburgh. We played together in Detroit, and so Ab has been a good friend of mine since 1967. I guess I really got to know Abby well when we went to Pittsburgh together, and so I see him quite a bit. But some of the other guys you don't see that often. We had our little reunion here, celebrating 40 years of our start in '72, and so we got Dunk and Duke and Billy Sutherland and Ab and myself, and we had a little get together at the Free Press Cafe, and had a little photo shoot in the store. But so many of the guys that played in Winnipeg weren't from Winnipeg, and not too many of them. Well, certainly none of the guys from the WHA days that were from elsewhere settled here. They all have probably settled in their hometowns or wherever they ended up. But of course, there was, the guys I mentioned were from here. Brian Cadle is in Regina now. Peter Sullivan, or just outside of Regina. Peter Sullivan's in Regina. Normie Bowden, who I keep in touch with, is just moving from Florida to Arizona, and we keep in touch with them. And of course, it's always nice when Anders and Ulf or Bobby are in Winnipeg, and you get a chance to say hello to them, because they were so special and meant so much to the team and me, and that people like that you'll never ever forget. So it's always nice to see anybody that you've had that relationship with as a teammate. That like I say, it's a brotherhood, and it'll always be that way.
In '78, you guys played the Russian national team, right?
Yeah, in Winnipeg, or
Yeah.
the year we beat them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was like Montreal tied.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
And Winnipeg beat them.
Yeah, well, we were the only club team to ever beat their national team. And I remember after that game, Anders Hedberg came in the dressing room and he said, "Boys," he said, "I hope you realize what we've accomplished." And I know what it meant to them, because, they couldn't do it on their Swedish national team. So it was a special occurrence. It was something that, if you had a chance to be there, you pretty much enjoyed history. And if you had a chance to participate, like me, it's something that I can look back on and think, yeah, that was pretty special. So because we had played them previously. We had played them, we went and played them the games in Japan prior to coming home to play them. We had played them in the Izvestia tournament in Russia, when we played all 4 countries over there: Sweden, Finland, Czechoslovakia, and Russia. And so you knew the talent, you knew the prowess of that team, and to think that we as a club team could go out there and compete on the same ice surface with a group of players like that. I mean, just to be on the ice surface and be able to play the game and compete, and say, yeah, we held up good, but to actually beat them was really special. And I always kid people. I say, I know at that time the arena held, I think, 10,200 or 10,100, but I think I've talked to enough people. I think everybody in Winnipeg was at that game, and even if they listened to it, I think they felt they were at the game. It was really special, yeah. And not only that game, but I don't know whether you remember the comeback we had against the Czech national team here when we were losing 4-0 after 2 periods and beat them 6-5. That was unbelievable. That was when I would call him Zarilla the Gorilla was the goalie, if you remember. What was his name? Zarilla. Anyways, he was a pretty special goaltender for the Czechs at that time too. And geez, I don't know what happened, but I was so upset and disgusted after 2 periods. Because I played that game as well, and here we come out in the 3rd period, and I don't know whether the first shot went in, and it was like the floodgates opened, and they were going in from everywhere after that, and we ended up winning the game. So I think I often think of that game as being kind of special too, because we had no business winning the game, but we did. We played 1 good period and won it. So
I was at that game because I remember my buddy Mark Pruden, who's a cop here now, and he used to yell out, "Check that check!" He kept saying it so much. One guy yelled out, "Shut the fuck up!" And he kept on saying, "Check that check!"
That's great.
And then you guys play the Russian Dynamo team.
Yeah.
And I think their uniform, I was at that game too. Their uniforms didn't make it, so you guys quickly got them uniforms. They were red and they had a big D on it.
Okay.
It was just a calligraphy type D or something. It was just, okay, here's your uniforms. It's got a D on it.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget that. Thinking, oh, these aren't their regular uniforms.
Yeah.
They just got these.
Yeah.
They were good. They were good times, boy. Sure. And everyone who remembers Winnipeg, they remember, oh, the Queen, the picture of the Queen.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know where that thing is now, but
Somebody.
that's a collector's item.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought somebody said that they knew where it was, and of course, when we built the new facility now downtown, everybody thought that the Queen, that picture should go in there.
At least hang from the ceiling.
Yeah, it's people don't want to let go of good times or good memories, and I think that's what people held against the NHL Jets over the years. Was as good as they were, and believe me, they had some good teams. People forget how good our Jets were because of the fact we couldn't get out of our division.
Yeah.
But the fact that they never won is what was the drawback, especially for those that were able to witness the WHA years, because we had success.
Yeah.
And that's, because people will say, oh man, those Jets WHA teams, they were the greatest. And I say, don't forget those years that the Jets in the NHL were tremendous. That one year they had 6 30-goal scorers, but they couldn't get past Edmonton. And then the one year they couldn't get past Calgary when Howard Chuck got hurt. And then there was the one year that I think Vancouver beat them one year, and so that was the toughest division in the National Hockey League.
Well, I remember when we started off in the North.
Yeah.
And then the next year, you can go into the Schmite now.
Yeah.
Because of Colorado.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. We get to see Gretzky.
Yeah.
X amount of times a year. Oh, that's bad.
Yeah.
We get to see Gretzky.
Yeah. Exactly. But no, I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me. I can now appreciate how good those teams were that I played on. Hi. All right.
Came back.
That's fine.
Yeah. Couldn't wait.
Yeah. Now we just been talking basically about my life and career, and I just said I was just going to say it that now as a retired old timer, I can look back on those teams that we had here and really appreciate how good they were.
Yeah.
At the time, you don't because you're part of it, and it's not a case of bragging, but you really don't know how to analyze and say, really, how good are we?
Yeah.
But sometimes I'll sit back and I'll look at a team picture, and I'll look at the guys and I'll say, almost every one of them was a quality player and person. And, unless you saw it or were part of it, other parts of the world that never got a chance to see our team play really doesn't know what we're talking about. But, when you talk about world-class teams, and I was just telling Al, Scotty Bowman came to town a few years back and spoke at the, I think it was the Rady Center dinner. And he and Montreal were trying to get Schoberg out of Winnipeg. And so he came here and watched us play. And he says that evening, he says, I went back and Sammy Pollock says, well, what kind of a player is he and what kind of a team do they have? And he says, well, he's certainly an excellent player. And he says, I'll tell you what, if they challenge us to a game of hockey, I'd think twice. And I thought, Scotty Bowman doesn't throw comments like that around very often, but he meant it. He thought that we had a pretty good hockey team.
Was there ever a challenge, Joe, between the Jets and the Habs when the Jets?
Supposedly,
okay, that's
because of the fact,
Yeah.
like Bobby says, that the Stanley Cup started off as a challenge trophy.
Yeah.
And so we said, okay, well, we've won, they've won, let's challenge them.
Let's play for it.
Now, whether officially it ever happened, I don't know for sure.
Okay.
It's supposed to have happened.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, they had everything to lose,
That was what I had heard.
and we had
They
everything
said
to
no,
gain
they had everything to
by
lose.
playing a series.
Yeah, and it would have validated the WHO.
Right. And there was no way they wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
In fact, that's why they never ever said anything good about us.
Yeah, well, and that's why
Until Glenn Sather, which we talked about, after a championship, said, well, I tried to mold this team after the WHA Jets. So it's, it's fun to recollect those years and those teams and those times. It's, and you look at the time, we beat the Russian national team, only club team to ever do that. Yeah.
The other thing I always wondered, I had heard rumors that it was the Molsons who were trying to keep the WHA.
Well, Montreal, I forget how now because Kluche, Mark Kluche, who came here when Fergie took over in '78 from Montreal, and he was well connected, still is to this day, and there was a vote, and Winnipeg was not part of the group going in. And Mark, through the people in Winnipeg, went to Molson's and said, hey, people in Manitoba will stop buying your product instantly. You have to do something and allow the Jets to be part of the group going into the NHL. And so then they voted in favor of it, and we got in. But yeah, there was a chance that Winnipeg would have never got in.
I told Scott.
Oh, I always said, like in '96 when we lost the team, I said, it's bad enough losing the team, but for me or the fans, especially, adult fans, they've seen hockey for a long time, so yeah, you don't like to lose something you have. But it was the kids that I felt sorry for because all of a sudden now they can't connect with something that, they can grow up with. And now I instantly saw it. As soon as we got the team back, then the kids were back in the store getting connected with the Jets by having Jets cards or Jets this or Jets that. And it's a fabric part of the city.
Yeah, it's part of the culture.
It is.
It's part of who we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so difficult running a card shop during all those years we were without the team. Kids would come in occasionally and say, well, who's your favorite team? Who's your favorite player? Now it's just, how about those Jets, at the water cooler over a cup of coffee, or kids at school, or, oh, I want to be Andrew Ladd, I want to be Zach Bogosian, I want to be Andrew, this, that. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just connecting.
Yeah.
And it brings the city together.
Yeah, it does.
Because you all have a common bond or thread.
Yeah.
And gradually, all those people that had adopted another team who said, well, I like the Jets, but I still like this team, that'll dissipate. It will. It'll be Jets, Jets, Jets.
Yeah,
I think every kid growing up would have pride in playing for his hometown. I know what it meant to me to be able to come home. I mean, if somebody would have told me when I was 18 and leaving to go to Weyburn to start my junior career that someday you're going to come back here and be a pro player in Winnipeg, I would have said, what have you been smoking?
Yeah, exactly.
Ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
How's it going to happen?
Yeah.
But it happened.
Okay,
Well, that's why I enjoy the business, or certainly have enjoyed it as long as I have, is the interaction with people who might have been kids when I was playing, or got a chance to see me play, and out-of-towners come in, and so many people have walked in and are actually shocked to see me sitting here, and I've always said, hey, and when something happens to me, my son's going to stuff me. And now that we're here, we got a bench right out in front that he's going to put me on the bench. And when people walk in, say, "Where's Joe? Oh, he's sitting on the bench today." But no, it's been fun. It's
okay. We can't go by without talking about the clothes you wore on the 3 championship parades.
Yeah.
The first one, you wore that flower.
I wore it for all 3 parades.
No.
The same jacket.
Well,
Yes, I did.
No, what was the white? You had the fro.
Yeah.
In '79, you had the white.
Yeah.
An afro, white pants, white shirt, and you had your curly hair.
But I had the same jacket on for all 3 parades, and that was a jacket I bought in Buffalo. It's a hand embroidered on Irish linen, and it's all like flowers and all different colors. And I just loved it when I saw it. I still own the jacket. I can't get into it for obvious reasons. But that was a pretty special jacket. I wore it the day I signed, and then I wore it in the parades for our championships. And but it was a jacket I picked up in Buffalo. There was a
rival Don Cherry's.
Yeah, I always said Don Cherry wears my old clothes. And but it was pretty neat, yeah. And of course, because it was multicolored, you really could combine a lot of different garments with it, as far as your pants or your shirt or your tie or the colors that went with it. You could pick up a lot of yellows, blues, greens. It was kind of neat. But a lot of people remember that jacket, believe it or not. And I've got many pictures to back it up, but
do you remember the cup breaking in '78? Like, I have footage of the parade, and the chalice part is gone. It's taken right.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Schubert's holding it,
Yeah,
and there's
nothing
no
on the
lid
top.
it.
Yeah, that's funny. But no, and before we shut her down here, I gotta tell you another story about Anders and Olfen. And we had the sort of a wind-up do at the old arena back in '96, and the group, we sat together and our wives and were telling stories, and Anders, who was never a person to brag about himself or much, he says, when Alfie and I went to New York, and we first got out on the ice and got to know the guys, and they said Alfie or Anders, he says, this is a pretty good team you're coming to join, and Anders said, yeah, should have seen the one I left. So that in a nutshell, I think, says how he felt about our team here, and they both loved their time here, and the people here, and you know, the accomplishments that we achieved together. It's I mean, they went through a lot to survive in the league. Many of the teams tried to run them out of the league, but Bobby told them that they were going to have to fight back and give it back, and then the players will respect them. And I think in the end, that's what helped them survive, was that they started to give a little back, and the teams and the players in the league gained respect and appreciated the fact that these guys are here to stay, they're here to play, and they mean business, and so it you know, it wasn't easy for them either, as much as it wasn't easy for us guys that were having to accept them coming over and playing on our team. It was tough for them too, but in the end, I mean, Lars Erik Sjoberg, one of the finest people you'll ever meet. You know, God rest his soul. He was just such a neat guy, intelligent, knew the game so well. You know, played much bigger than he was. Just a super person. I mean, they all were. In the end, they all were. When you got to know them as people, and they were all just like all of us, just human beings, and just living in another part of the world. That's all. You know. But when it came to playing, yeah, they were special.
Did Valley Pekka have a tanning booth in his
No,
in his home?
no. Valley was just a dark fin. Yeah, yeah.
Every picture you see,
I know.
he's way tanner than
Yeah.
the rest of the team.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, yeah. He was. I mean, when you look at the guys, I mean, you know, Valley was probably at that time one of the best Finnish players in the world, and when we got him, and then you look, you know, and you think of, you know, we always talk about Anders and Olfen, rightfully so, but I mean, Willie Lindstrom, Danny LeBratton, Tommy Bergman, I mean, Shu, Valley, world-class players. Mats Lind was, you know, quiet but still could play the game. Kent Nielsen. How could I forget Kent? Unbelievable skill and talent.
A glutton of talent.
Oh,
It's like,
you know, when you go through the lineup and you say, holy crap, he went on and played how many years in the NHL? He went on how many years in the NHL? He went on how many years in the NHL? It was just one after another after another. It was constant.